you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. He knocked at my door in a Halloween mask, whispering promises I hadn't asked for, and a drill in his hand to make them real. I moved into flat 4B of Rosewood Court on a golden September afternoon, carrying a single suitcase and a head full of fresh starts. The building was a converted Victorian boarding house on the edge of Eastbourne's pebbled shoreline, its red bricks softened by climbing ivy and framed by wind-bent pines. Inside, a narrow corridor led to 7 flats. Mine was at the very end, the door painted a hopeful robin's egg blue. My previous studio had smelled of damp concrete and city noise. Here, I woke to distant gull cries and the tang of sea salt. I unpacked my canvases along the hallway wall, hung shells from my Brighton trip on the tiny nails above the radiator, and sat by my work desk by the window. From there, I could see the crumbling pier jutting in the horizon and feel the breeze drift in, carrying carnival echoes from the nearby fairground. I spearheaded my latest graphic novel in the window's glow, late night pencil strokes, tea mugs half drunk, and jazz crackling from old speakers. I enjoyed the solitude, the gentle rhythm of seaside life. My neighbour, Darren, in 2B, was polite but distant, always quick with a nod in the hallway, a brief hello if our paths crossed. A steady guy, I thought, reliable in the way people are when they keep their distance. That changed the evening of October the 28th. I just closed my laptop, weary from revisions, and lit a candle on the mantel. A chill wind rattled the sash windows. A flyer from the Halloween ball at the pier fluttered against my shoe. I brushed it aside and padded to the kettle. The corridor beyond was quiet, too quiet. I paused, listening. Footsteps, soft, measured, then a pause, just outside my door. My heart stuttered. A deliberate knock, 3 slow raps echoed through the door's old wood. I peered through the peephole. There stood Darren, masked in a grinning, white Halloween jack-o'-lantern plastic mask, his dark eyes visible through the triangular holes. In one hand, he held a cordless drill. I froze. "Darren?" I croaked. "Is everything okay?" He lifted a finger to his lips, signalling hush. Even through the mask, I felt his breath, a faint rasp. He tapped the drill against the wood once, twice, and whispered, "Just checking the locks." Nervous, I fumbled my keys, unlocked the chain, and cracked the door. His mask tilted. "Neighbours should know each other," he said, voice muffled, "especially before Halloween." I forced a smile. Thanks, I'll keep that in mind." I shut the door and bolted it 3 times. Over the next week, every evening at exactly 8:15 p.m, Darren knocked. 3 slow raps, drill in hand, mask on. Always the same routine. I'd hurry to the door, heart drumming, only to find him pressing the drill against the wood, rotating it slowly, then offering inane small talk about the weather, my writing, the fair's ghost train ride. My unease bloomed into dread. The hallway light flickered each time I opened the door, casting this mask in shifting shadows. One night, I left him outside. I cracked the peephole and said, "I'm not interested, stop knocking." His silence stretched, then he tapped the mask with the drill's bit, the sound tinny and mocking. "You have to let me in sometime," he whispered. "I need to see you." Days later, I discovered a package slipped under my door at dawn. A carved pumpkin half full of sand, the drill bit buried like a diabolical seed. Attached was a note in spidery handwriting. "I bore the hole myself." I shook. The drill bit was slick with oil. My hand trembled as I tossed the pumpkin into the stairwell garbage. When I returned from work, I found the drill on my doorstep. humming batteries and bits neatly unscrewed. No mask this time. I called the superintendent, but maintenance records showed no repair calls. The elevator rumbled empty. In flat 4B, only my door stood ajar a fraction. My phone pinged at 2:07 AM, an unknown number. I opened it to find a picture of my bedroom door from outside, moonlight casting its rectangle on the hardwood floor. I never left my phone unattended in the hallway. The next morning, the number traced to a burner bought just blocks away. Next, I began noticing small changes in the flat. A pillow turned at an odd angle, a stray drill shavings on the windowsill, my notebooks rearranged. I installed a smart lock, yet each night when I returned home, the log showed an unlock at 3:13 AM before I'd even gotten to the building. The only entry method would require a physical key. One night, I sat my phone to record audio in the hallway. At 8:15 PM, a low rhythmic tap surfaced, drill against door, then a soft panting on the recording. I grabbed my spare camera from the kitchen, pressed record, and pressed it against the peephole. He knocked. I hit stop. The footage revealed nothing but glare, yet I felt the lens move, as if someone inside had shifted it to capture me. I called the police. They took the drill and the mask as evidence, ran latent prints, non-matched. They swabbed the hallway floor for DNA. Nothing. "He's a ghost," the officer said, tilting his head. "If he's not on camera and he's wiping prints, we're chasing shadows." Halloween Eve arrived, a perfect night for horrors real and imagined. The fair ballooned with laughter and screams from the ghost train. Children in costumes lined the streets. I painted a "Do Not Disturb" sign on my door and decked a fake spider web across the peephole. I resolved to stay in, lights off, phone in hand. At 15 PM, the hallway darkened and then a faint glow flickered, a torch's beam. I pressed my back to the wall, breathing shallow. Then the worst knock I've ever heard, frantic, almost angry, each rap splinter in silence like nails on slate. I didn't answer. I dialed 999, whispering, "He's here, he's got a drill." The operator told me to stay calm. My phone's reflection showed golden streetlights behind me, no one at the door. Yet the knocking continued, accelerating. 3, 4, 5 raps, a pause, then a deep grind as the drill bit kissed the wood. I heard the drill motor whine, felt the shudder through the door. Splinters flew, a small shower of wood chips. I screamed, hurled my coffee mug at the peephole. Glass shattered. Behind, the masked grin flashed in the rubble. I flung open the door, brandishing a kitchen knife. He lunged. I stabbed at the white plastic mask. It alerted with a hollow crack. The figure staggered back, drill spinning widely. I slashed again, and his mask fell to the floor, revealing skin as pale as moonlight, eyes black with obsession. He dropped the drill, sprinted down the corridor. I chased him barefoot, knife posed. At the stairwell, he vanished into the hush, disappearing through a fire exit I didn't even know existed. I pounded back, dragging the drill as evidence. The police found footprints in the stairwell, muddy, oversigned, but no match on file. They speculated he lived somewhere in the building's neglected attic or shared fire escape. I moved out 2 days later, scheduling movers at dawn. Now, every October, I leave my new front door dark and locked, phone ready. I still receive a knock at 8:15 PM, just once, a single rap that thunders through my bones, and when I peer through the peephole, there's nothing. But I know better than to call the police again. If you made it this far, maybe you're not like the others. Hit subscribe and I'll keep the stories coming. I thought I was finally home until the letters began arriving. each one proving someone had known us far too well. I'll never forget the morning we pulled into Westfield. Summer sunlight danced across the broad lawn of 657 Boulevard, where an icy-clad late Victorian house waited behind a wrought iron gate. Maria's eyes lit up as she stepped onto the wide front porch, white painted boards glowing under her feet. She'd grown up in this town, its tree-lined streets, lemonade stands, and block parties still the kind of safe, sleepy fantasy we craved after 3 years squeezed into a Manhattan flat. Inside, the house felt ripe with possibility. Old pine floors stretched beneath our feet, high ceilings arched overhead, and each room whispered of Sunday brunches and holiday laughter. We'd spent months hunting for space for our children, Lily, 8, Ethan, 6, and baby Clara in her lavender nursery. This was the dream. Morning cartoons in the sunlit living room, backyard picnics under the magnolia tree, and Maria tending rose bushes as I fired up the grill. That night, we clinked glasses of champagne on the wraparound porch, kids tucked into their new rooms with stories and stuffed animals. A breeze rustled the hydrangeas, fireflies flickered in the yard. I gripped Maria's hand and savoured the hush. Here, I thought, the anxieties of deadlines and subway crowds would fade, replaced by gentle rhythm of a small town summer. I drifted to bed imagining the happy years ahead. But before the dawn had broken, something cracked that illusion. I woke to a faint slip-slap against the front door. Heart hammering, I peered through the peephole. Empty porch, empty street. The latch was unlatched, swinging slightly in the dark. I bolted it shut, hands trembling, and I slid back into bed. Maria murmured in her sleep. I wiped sweat from my brow and told myself it was nothing, just a bad dream. Even as I closed my eyes though, I sensed a pair of unseen eyes watching. 3 days later, I found it half hidden beneath the welcome mat. A thin, cream-coloured envelope, no stamp, no postmark. My breath caught as I unfolded it on the foyer rug. Inside, neat, typewritten text. Congratulations on your new home at 657 Boulevard. It's been waiting for you. Do you know why? Because someone has been watching you for decades. The words were blurred as cold dread pulled in my stomach. Maria hovered behind me, her perfume mingling with the humid morning air. He would do this, she whispered. I forced a laugh I didn't feel. Wrong address, I said, slipping the letter into my jacket pocket. But as I climbed the stairs, I felt the house's hush deepen, as if it guarded secrets it refused to share. Over the following days, normal routines warped into rituals of fear. I checked the locks on every door twice before sleeping. I installed a baby monitor outside the children's room, convinced I'll hear a whisper before anything worse happened. But no amount of vigilance could stop the next letter. Your children are perfect additions. Their laughter echoes too loudly. Soon, there will be quiet. Maria cried when she read it. Ethan trembled that night, convinced the shadows under his bed moved on their own. Lily clutched her teddy and refused to sleep alone. The nursery, once Clara's sanctuary, felt like a cage. Each morning, I received another note, scrawled with intimate details, our favourite takeaway, the name of our plumber, even the brand of wine I savoured on Wednesday nights. I hired a private investigator, Sam Turner. He staked out our cluster mailboxes, tracked postal routes, and background checked every neighbour from numbers 653 to 661. But his cameras picked up nothing suspicious, only the usual late jogger, the mail truck, and the occasional deer wandering across the lawn. No hand, no face. By August, the heat weighed on us like a living thing. Inside, The air tasted of tension and stale soda. Maria barely left the house. I arrived home each evening to find her pacing the porch, baby monitor pressed to her ear. The children's playdates vanished, school drop-offs turned to silent affairs. I started sleeping in the study with the baby monitor, Jessica's soft cooing lulling me into half dreams where paper whispers rustled down the hall. At 3 a.m, I'd bolt upright, convinced I heard paper sliding under the door. My heartbeat echoed louder than any footsteps. One night, I even caught myself arguing with the darkness. "Show yourself!" I shouted. Silence swallowed my plea. There was no lightning strike moment, no mask ripped off or face illuminated in a single blinding flash. It built slowly, like a storm gathering on the horizon. But I'll never forget the night it happened. We'd been away for a week, vacation, a desperate break arranged by Maria. I begged her, "Let me handle it. We'll fix the cameras, strengthen the locks." She wouldn't hear it, so I stayed behind, alone with the quiet, determined to end this. The moon was a sliver in the clear sky. I shut every curtain and unlocked the porch light, its wide glow flooding the front yard. Inside, the house felt cavernous, every corner darker than the last. I sat on the porch swing, letter in hand, the latest in a stack of 6. "You're too late. I live here now." My throat went dry. I pressed it into the vault's iron gate, then retreated 2 steps. Through my phone's live feed, I watched the latch turn, click, and the gate creep open, though no one stood in sight. The camera revealed only the empty driveway, painted silver by the moonlight. I leapt to my feet, adrenaline and dread twisted my limbs. "Who's there?" I screamed into the night. My voice rattled the eaves, cicadas stilled. I flung open the front door, nothing but the hush, and the letter wedged under the mat, now damp with dew. I ripped it free. The typeface was crisp, unbolted by moisture. "Thank you for letting me in." I stumbled backwards, the letter falling in slow motion as I sprinted across the lawn. Branches whipped at my face. My heart pounded so fiercely I thought it might burst. I reached the street and turned. No silhouette, no retreating figure, just the watching windows of 657 Boulevard, dark and silent. We moved out within 48 hours, selling for a fraction of what we paid. Maria held me as we loaded the final box into our rental van, our children asleep in the back seats, oblivious to the dread that had chased them from their home. As I turned to shut the door the one last time, a small patch of disturbed soil caught my eye near the front steps. Kneeling, I brushed aside leaves and found a letter. I brushed aside leaves and found letters, buried, crusted, dozens of them, each one typewritten in the same precise font. The top letter gleamed as if fresh. "Welcome back." I left them buried, unread. If you made it this far, maybe you're not like the others. Hit subscribe and I'll keep the stories coming. By the time I realised the bugs weren't insects, it was already too late. I moved into my quiet cul-de-sac on Elmwood Avenue 6 months ago. A modest bungalow surrounded by neatly trimmed hedges and friendly nods from neighbours. After my husband passed, the house felt too big. Every empty room echoed with memories. I longed for tranquility. So when Mrs. Patel next door introduced herself with a plate of warm blueberry muffins and a ready smile, I thought my luck had turned. Debbie was 72 and lived alone after her children moved abroad. Her garden bloomed with hydrangeas and lavender, and she talked fondly of her late husband's passion for entomology. She even joked about her old bug collection, a hobby they shared for 50 years, before moving on to more cheerful tales of grandchildren. I listened over tea in her sunny kitchen, the air redolent of vanilla biscuits and fresh cut flowers. That weekend, she left a gift on my porch, a small, ornate brass box carved with crawling insects. Inside, a single cicada shell, its wings glinting in the afternoon light, and a handwritten note. "For you, a little piece of beauty, enjoy." I hung the shell on my windowsill above the kitchen sink. It seemed harmless, almost poetic, like a tiny sculpture's of nature's handiwork. But when I returned to the house that evening, I found the shell gone and a dead cicada in its place, lying on the counter as if someone had meant to show me. At first, I dismissed it as a prank, perhaps a neighbourhood kid with too much time on his hands. Yet, as the days passed, the insects multiplied and the devices began to appear. One morning, I found a small microphone taped beneath the rim of my porch light, its wires snaking back into the socket. I peeled it away, heart racing, and tossed it into the bin. By nightfall, it was gone. The following day, under the bird feeder in the front garden, I discovered a bug of a different sort, a tiny glass sphere, no larger than a marble, with a pinhole drilled into its metal cap. I pocketed it, fingers sticky with sap, and examined it by my desk lamp. Inside, a micro lens pointed outwards. My breath caught. I realised someone had been watching me, listening in. I replaced the sphere with the cicada shell and set up motion-activated lights. That night, the floodlights blazed when the front door creaked. I leapt from bed, phone in hand, and ran downstairs. The camera feed showed a figure crouched beneath the bird feeder, gently extracting the plastic ball. He stood, a tall man in dark clothes, and slipped away into the night without a sound. My blood turned to ice. I called the police. They took the device but could find no fingerprints. Their reassurance rang hollow. Inside, I felt exposed, like a bug under a magnifying glass. Every rustle of wind through the night sounded like footsteps on the porch. I stopped answering the doorbell and slept with the front door chained. Yet still, morning after morning, a new contraption would lie in wait. Tiny cameras hidden in garden gnomes, microphones taped inside the mailbox, even a small drone hovering near the second floor window. One sweltering July evening, I decided it had to end. I invited Debbie over for tea, determined to confront her. She arrived at 5, smiling and carrying a tray of scones. I led her into the living room, where I placed the gathered devices on the coffee table, the cicada shells, microphones, the glass ball. "Debbie," I began, forcing calm, "I found these on my property. Do you know anything about them?" Her smile faded. She laughed nervously. "Oh, those old things. I thought you'd like my little gifts." My heart pounded. "They're surveillance devices, Mrs. Patel. Cameras, microphones. Someone's been spying on me." She shook her head, voice wavering. "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about, dear." I pressed on, voice trembling. "You do. I've seen you." Her eyes, once warm, narrowed. She stood and walked to the window, gazing into the gathering dusk. "You feel alone, don't you?" she said softly, voice eerily calm. "After he died, you became a magnet for loneliness. I thought I'd keep you company." I backed away. "You've been watching me every moment." She turned, raising a slender hand. "I just wanted to understand you," she whispered. "You know what made you so real." I stumbled towards the door. "Stay away from me." Her gentle smile fractured. "Oh, but you'll never be rid of me." I yanked open the door. She didn't follow, but as I stepped onto the porch, I felt her presence at the threshold, her gaze burning through my skin. I flung the door shut and locked it, breathing so hard I thought I might collapse. I sold the bungalow 2 weeks later and moved into a secured apartment downtown. I never saw Debbie again. Her house remains empty, a garden overgrown, but sometimes, late at night, I hear a faint, metallic click outside my window, and I know she's still collecting her bugs.